subscribers. Well, subscriber rate. Hit the fucking like button and subscribe if I knock your ass out, man. I ain't fucking with you, man.
UFC Columbus, another fight night on the road, back-to-back weeks, one in a different country, and that was last weekend. It was a banger, great card last week. I'm sure we'll be probably seeing some more of these instead of the Apex, right? Apex, you can very limited crowd. COVID stuff is opening up, so definitely nice to see fans, more fans at events, right? That's what we want to see. I think a lot of people are still buzzing from that card. Great card last week, even though it wasn't a great card from a betting standpoint for me personally, but the card, great fights, a lot of finishes, a lot of the big wins for the English fighters, which was great. And I'm sure the UFC is going to go back there. I think Dana White mentioned it was probably one of the better cards and better fan bases that he's seen in a long time. I'll be going over the main card like usual, guys, providing some free picks, leans, maybe tell you what to avoid. A few fun fights on this card. This is actually a pretty deep card. Some nice fights on the prelims as well. So I'm going to be looking forward to this card for sure. Last week was one of those cards. My leans hit more than my fights that I really bet and I really liked. First losing card in about over a month and a half, guys. Almost 2 months. First losing card. We did have some bad luck situations in some of the fights. I'll briefly go over that. So it was a 25-3 run. I did expect some regression, maybe even a tad earlier, but it didn't come until last week. Quick recap on the losses. So we did have Molly McCann. I liked Molly McCann to win the fight, but I liked it by decision, and the history and the numbers would tell you that. And then we just seen a wild finish KO, probably one of the best women's finishes I've ever seen, and that spinning elbow may be one of the best KOs of the year, and it came out of nowhere. That fight was cruising to decision, and then boom. It came out of nowhere, that finish. So props to her. What a finish. I'm happy that we got to see a finish like that over a smaller unit bet. What else do we have? We did have a couple 2-fight parlays that didn't cash. McKenna was in one of them. It was a close fight. I don't think she did enough to win the fight. It could have gone either way, in my opinion, but she didn't grapple enough. And when she did grapple, she owned her. She owned Reed when she grappled, but she didn't grapple enough. And that was her path to victory. She tried to stand a little too much for my liking. So bad game plan from her. She could have just won an easy, take the fight to the ground type of win, but she didn't decide to do that. She probably at home. She probably wanted to fight a little more on the feet. So I get it. But tough beat there with her it was in a 2-fight parlay. And then I had Hooker and Arnold going over 2.5. That wasn't close. First round, I thought that would be a competitive fight. I didn't see any blitzes from Arnold. He came out and blitzed them, like tons of punches, tons of combinations early, and that I don't think anyone saw the fight going like that. I thought it would be a competitive fight. I leaned Arnold. I thought Arnold Allen would win the fight. I leaned it. I didn't bet it, but I didn't see that fight going. I thought it would go to the distance. Not for sure, but I thought the fight would definitely go over the 2.5 rounds, maybe a later finish, but definitely didn't see it going like that. And then one other one was the Krylov fight. He was cruising to victory. He looked great, very strong, very dominant, and then he got caught. The issue with Krylov is great wrestler, but the only way Craig was going to win that fight was off his back. No other way. Krylov's a much better striker, much better wrestler, and the only shot he had was to get that submission, and he got it. What Krylov should have done was either keep close to the body, keep him close like he was doing in the first 3-4 minutes, but then he kept jumping back on him, which was not smart. He should have allowed him up and should have just knocked him out on the feet. He almost knocked him out on his back, if you recall. He went out, it looked like, for a minute there. But he was able to take the shots, and he was able to just find the submission like he does. That's what he does. He just finds submissions off his back or finds a submission somehow, and that's his path to victory. So why play into it, right? It wasn't a smart outing. He looked great early, then it didn't finish so well. Excited to see Aspinall fight again, and he passed the test. I didn't bet it because I leaned Aspinall. I gave it out on the video, but I didn't bet it just because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it, and then it climbed to minus 138. I'm glad I stayed off Volkov. Aspinall is the real deal, guys. He looked great. He looked great in that fight, and he's well-rounded. He was able to show his skills, his well-rounded skills. And he's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. Is he ready for a title shot? I don't know. Maybe not, but he's ready for that next guy. Serial Gone. I think he beats Tuivasa fairly easily. I think he just takes him down and submits him, to be honest. Gone, maybe a little more difficult to just take down, and on the feet, I think Gone's better. That will be a difficult fight for him, but Aspinall's the real deal, and he could be the next champion that the UK sees. Weekly update, guys. Let's get into the weekly update. 26-7 UFC run, still an impressive UFC run here after a hit last week. 82-43 long term. 82-43 long term. 65% best bets over 3 years, guys, just under 50 units. PGA 68% best bets, just under 3 years. 6 of the last 8 profitable events, and 71 units in the prop market. NBA 60% on the year, guys. 60% on the year. 45 and 21 plus 16 units. NHL 65% on the year. Over 5 units. Smaller units in the NHL. Sometimes I don't feel as confident in the NHL than a regular season game, so units have been smaller there. Let's get an NFL reminder. NFL reminder, guys. I'm excited. It's been a crazy offseason in the NFL. This is probably the craziest NFL free agency I've seen in a long, long time. Big names being moved. Just Tariq Hill just got moved yesterday to Miami, so that's a fun offense there. I am excited for the NFL this year. Here is the reminder of how good things went last year. Guys, reminder, let's hear from my friend Meredith before we get into this card.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Guys, like, comment, subscribe. It does help me out a ton. I'm seeing a few more comments as of late. I do thank you guys for that. It takes a second or two just to do it. I'm giving out free information every week. Hopefully you guys can help me out there. Let's get right into the card. Let's get right into the card, and we're going to start with the main event, kind of a random main event, something that kind of just got put on not too long ago. They called Dawkins, said you want to fight Blades in the main event. Dawkins is game. Dawkins is game, and he is down to fight anybody. Blades minus 400 versus Dawkins plus 310. Little steep price, hard to bet. Definitely hard to bet. Not hard to bet if you like the Dawkins side, of course, at plus 300. But it's going to be tough for me to get to Dawkins here, guys. Just due to this matchup. You know, Blades is going to have the big wrestling advantage here. There's no question about it. We haven't seen a ton of wrestling from Dawkins, so we don't really know. But he's more of a boxer striker, right? He is good on the ground. He does have a black belt, but is he going to submit Blades? You know, I have a hard time seeing him submitting Blades off his back. Right? Once Blades gets down to the ground, is Dawkins going to be able to find a submission? Dawkins' path to victory here obviously would be a KO finish on the feet. Blades has been improving his striking, though. His movement's really good. I like how he moves. I like his footwork. He's improved on that. And he has a nice jab. He has some power in his hand, so I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to stand with him too much. If Dawkins catches him, I think that's only his only path. Right? We see Dawkins look for the early finish. That's what he does. He looks for that first round, second round. Let's see if Blades try to, grind it, grapple, bring him down to the ground, and make this prolong this fight. Let's see what Dawkins looks like in the second, third, fourth round, right? I don't think his cardio is going to last. So that's one thing here where Blades is going to have the advantage. We have seen Blades go 5 rounds. Blades' cardio is solid. No question about that. The only thing that concerns me about Blades is his IQ, right? Sometimes he decides to stand too long, or if he gets the fight to the ground, does he try to go for the finish? Sometimes he doesn't. He just kind of lays on you. So that's why sometimes it is difficult to predict Blades' outcome fights. Like here, you would think, yeah, Blades is going to get the TKO finish or the finish, but that's where I would lean, of course. But we've seen Blades just take down guys and just kind of wrestle and lay on them as well and get a decision win. So I think Dawkins will have a big time issue going to 5 rounds due to the cardio. So I do think Blades somehow finishes him in this fight, maybe a TKO type of ground and pound finish, but I don't love it. I don't love the outcome for a finish here, and you're going to pay for it as well. I'm sure it'll be in the minuses. So that's one thing to keep in mind here. We saw Dawkins beating some, average of the road guys, mid-tier guys in the heavyweight division. But when he stepped up in competition, we saw what happened against Derek Lewis. He had that main event spot. Derek Lewis knocked him out in the first round. So I expect when Dawkins gets up to these top 5 guys, he struggles. That's my opinion on him. I do think he's a good fighter. I do think he has some good skills, some good boxing skills. Apparently he has a black belt, and we haven't seen it really yet, so I would like to see it a little more from him to see. But if Blades gets him down in the ground, he will have to be worried about Dawkins' submission, so that will be interesting. My pick's going to be Blades here. Keep in mind, Blades only lost to the top of the top. Obviously, the Lewis knockout, he got caught, and then Ngannou, right? So when he's fighting guys like Dawkins and mid-tier guys, even guys that are, he does have some impressive wins as well, right? But I think this is where he shines, and this is where he can take advantage. And I think he's going to be able to take advantage of the wrestling here. And I think Blades just wins. He puts it all together, and he needs this win to stay in that conversation for a title shot, right? So I do like Blades here. Don't like the price. You can maybe work it into a 2-fight parlay. I lean the finish, the TKO finish, KO finish. But again, we've seen him just lay on guys and wrestle for 5 rounds as well. Co-main event, Grosso minus 240 versus Calderwood, now called the Wood, plus 200. This should be a fun striking battle, in my opinion, for 3 rounds. What does Calderwood have left is the question here. That's the main question in this fight, and it's what struggles for me to go. Well, I'm going back and forth with this one. I do see some value with Wood at plus 200, but I also question myself, what does she have left? She got married, and it just doesn't seem like she's as focused in her last few fights, right? Her only 2 wins in the last 3 years, guys. The last 3 to 4 years, her only 2 wins have been Andrea Lee and Jessica Ai. Mid-tier girls that are falling off. Especially Jessica Ai, she fell off a lot. But lower level girls, Wood does great. Sure, right? She does great with the mid-tier, lower level girls. The question is Grosso that type of girl? Is she the top of the echelon? She had a nice win over Barber coming off. She's on a 2-fight win streak. Some people really like Grosso. And she had some really good, crisp boxing. Good stand-up. I like what I see from Grosso. Wood now 36. She's getting up there. I don't think she has a ton of fights left. Her last fight against Santos, she was just totally outmatched. She was finished in the first round. Santos is the real deal, guys. Santos is getting that title shot. So it's hard to judge on that, right? Santos used her grappling and strength in that fight. If this fight's going to be on the feet for 3 rounds, it's going to be super close. It's going to be a super close fight. So I lean Grosso. I just think she's going to have the more impactful shots, the bigger shots, and she's going to have the better boxing. Okay, so that's why I like Grosso here. Don't like the price. I hate the price, actually. And that's why I probably will not bet it this weekend. Even if you do the decision, I do think this fight's going to be a decision. Both these girls fight the decisions. If it's a striking battle, it's going to be most likely there's going to be no finish on the feet. So if you take Grosso by decision, you're still paying minus 130. And anytime it's an outcome play and I see a minus, I get scared away. I look for the plus, unless it's a minus 110, minus 105, sure, I'll bet those. But minus 138 decision, it's telling you, yes, it's going to be a decision. So if you really like Grosso, I don't really like Grosso. I like Grosso to win. But if you really like Grosso, pay the decision price. I have a hard time seeing this be a finish. Next fight, I'm excited for this one. Askarov is back, minus 370 versus Kara France, plus 290. I think there's some plus 300s now out there for France, which there is value there. Tons of value with Kara France in a fight that I think is going to be close. Right? Askarov doesn't have the power to really knock you out. He wins close decision fights, guys. That's what he does. He just wins close decision fights. And Kara France, I may have to have a small bet on him. It would be a small unit play, especially when it's plus 300. But I may have to have a small bet on him. You know, big win versus Cody and a nice win over Bontarine. Bontarine's a good fighter. So he has big wins, and those are both finishes, guys. Kara France may hit the hardest in this division. He may hit the hardest in this division. Is he going to knock out Askarov? I don't think so. But he could win a close decision fight due to the bigger and more meaningful shots. It's possible. Problem here, Askarov's wrestling, I think, will be better. We haven't seen a ton of it, but I do think he has better wrestling than Kara France. The question is, I think if it does get to that, and if he does decide to grapple, I think Kara France can get up. He's shown times where he can get up. It's not like Askarov's just going to lay on him to steal around. I haven't seen it from Askarov. Askarov is more of a striker, but he does have some wrestling in his background. He does have some wrestling that he can go to. So that will be interesting to see if he goes to that. You know, if this fight does get to the ground, I do think, like I mentioned, Kara France will get up. Due to this price, I'll probably have the small unit, like I said, on Kara France. It may make my card, only because I think it's going to be a super close decision, which can go either way. Now, Askarov has been winning super close decisions. He wins decisions. He does enough. It looks like he knows how to win a fight and do enough on the judges' scorecards. If anything, this will have to be a value bet for me. I cannot bet Askarov even in a 2-5 parlay because Kara France has improved, guys. He has improved. He has fought just as good as guys as Askarov. Askarov does have the more meaningful wins, in my opinion, and that's why you're seeing that price here. But I have this at a closer, maybe a 250 to Askarov, minus 250 Askarov. Kara France obviously more active as well, so there's some value there. You know, I can see this fight going either way, but this is a straight value bet if I were to bet this fight, and it would be on Kara France. This is a fun one, guys. Matt Brown versus Barberena. Now, Brown's fighting at home. And you're getting an even price, minus 110. You know, I'd take a chance on Brown here just because he's fighting at home. I think this should be a slugfest type of brawl. But where it's interesting to see if Brown does take advantage of it and if he just looks for the win and not just the, you know, fight of the night, impressive performance. I think he can out-wrestle Barberena and get him to the ground. Barberena has been taken down a ton. In pretty much all his fights, he's shown he's been taken down. And he showed him he can knock down too. Jason Witt, of all people, knocked him down twice. He knocked him down twice in that fight. He's been shown to be durable too. He doesn't really get knocked out. Barberena, he's able to take shots. He loses decisions, but a lot of his fights do go to decision. Not a ton of knockouts on his resume, but Brown does have that power to hurt him. He does have that power to hurt him, but I think his path is to take it down to the ground and wrestle. I think that's Brown's path. And I'm not saying Brown's an elite wrestler, but he has wrestling. He can wrestle. And he's definitely a better wrestler than Barberena. So I think Brown's path is to wrestle. And that's how I think he wins this fight. If it stays on the feet, it's going to be close. It's a flip of a coin. That 110 tells you that. But let's hope Brown wrestles here. I like Brown. This may make my client card this weekend, guys. That may make my client card just as a play here. And it's also, too, I like him fighting at home. That's another little thing here as well. Latifi minus 200, minus 188. You'll see different price out there versus Oleinik. He's back. The Russian plus 170. The Bull Constrictor is back. And he lost 3 in a row, guys. And it's telling you why he lost 3. He's 44, guys. He's getting old. He is fighting some killers, but you have to think at 44, he's slowing down here, and it's showing in his fights. His stand-up looks terrible. This fight may be terrible, but I think Latifi gets the win here just due to his wrestling, right? Oleinik's very easy to take down, and Latifi's going to take him down. The whole question is Oleinik going to find a submission? That's what it's going to be here, right? But Latifi's never been submitted. He's never been submitted before, guys. He's been training in Sweden with Kamzat. Keep that in mind as well. His striking isn't good either. If this fight stays on the feet for 3 rounds, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And Latifi doesn't throw a lot of volume. That's another thing here. So let's say this fight stays 3 if this goes 3 rounds on the feet only, which it's not going to happen, but if it does, it can go either way. But if Latifi mix in his wrestling, which I think he will, he's going to win this fight, and it's going to be an ugly one. Like, could Oleinik catch Latifi off his back? Yeah, he could. He has 46 wins by submission, guys. 46 wins by submission. But he's 44. He's lost 3 in a row. Latifi knows his path is just mix it up with the striking and the takedowns, and he's going to win this fight. So I have a hard time seeing Latifi losing this fight. The only path for Oleinik is catching him with a submission. I say Latifi avoids it and wins this fight. Price sucks, though. Dakasi plus 135 versus Borishev minus 160. This is an interesting one. Could be a nice banger. May not go all 3 rounds. Maybe a nice striking battle. It is a little random to open up the main event. Diakasi is going to be very hungry for a win here to avoid 3 losses in a row. And some of them are close fights versus Alves and Fiziev. They're tough opponents. Solid fight against Fiziev. It was a nice striking battle, but Fiziev did more, landed the bigger shots. It's just hard to bet on Dakasi because I find he's just very inconsistent. He's hard to bet on. You don't know what you're going to get from him fight to fight. But the Russian, you really don't know what you're going to get from him either, besides, he goes out and looks to knock your head off. However, he's more raw than Dakasi. And the thing here is, he does have 2 wins. The one is the win in the Contender Series, if I recall. And then the other win is his debut versus Dakota. So, the level of competition, it's a big step up for him. So I'm going to stay away from this fight. I'm not going to bet this fight. The value is obviously with the English fighter here, and I lean that way just because of the value, but I cannot bet this fight. I'll be staying away and just enjoying, which should be a fun fight to watch. That will do it, guys. That will do it for this card. Hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown. It's a fun card. A lot of fun fights on the prelims. I'll have a couple of fights on the prelims out to my clients. So feel free to check systemsportscapping.com where you can become a client today and start profiting long-term on all sports. You've seen the records for all sports. That's how we roll over here. That will do it, guys. That will do it. Like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.